Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that the entire immigration landscape in America has been transformed overnight, affecting millions of people who are waiting for green cards, work permits, or simply hoping to reunite with their families. What if I told you that a historic new immigration bill is taking effect in January 2026 that will reshape the future for millions of immigrants, workers, students, and families across the United States? This is not speculation. This is reality. And whether you are already in the immigration system or planning to come to America, what happens in the next few weeks will determine your path forward. Stay with me until the end, because the information I am about to share could change everything you thought you knew about immigrating to the United States. Welcome to US Visa Portal, the channel where we bring you the most critical and up-to-date information on immigration visas, green cards, and everything affecting immigrants and visa applicants in the United States. I am here to cut through the confusion and make sure you understand exactly what is happening and how it impacts you today. We are talking about something truly historic, a brand new immigration bill that takes effect in January 2026, and it is going to impact millions of people. Whether you are waiting for a visa, you are already in the US on a temporary status, or you are planning to sponsor a family member, this bill will affect you in ways you need to understand right now. So make sure you subscribe to US Visa Portal, hit that notification bell, and stay with me because this is information you absolutely cannot afford to miss. Immigration reform has been one of the most debated and contentious issues in American politics for decades. Every administration talks about fixing the broken immigration system, but meaningful, comprehensive reform has been elusive. There have been executive orders, policy changes, enforcement priorities, and temporary programs, but nothing that truly overhauls the system in a lasting way until now. After years of negotiations, political battles, and compromise, a new immigration bill has been passed by Congress and signed into law, and it represents the most significant change to U.S. immigration policy in over 30 years. The bill takes effect in January 2026, and its impact will be felt by millions of people around the world who are connected to the U.S. immigration system. So what exactly does this historic bill do? Let us break it down piece by piece because this is complex, and you need to understand every major component. The first and perhaps most significant change is the introduction of a new points-based immigration system for certain categories of immigrants. This system is modeled after immigration policies in countries like Canada and Australia, where applicants are awarded points based on factors such as education, work experience, English language proficiency, age, and job offers in high-demand fields. The idea is to prioritize immigrants who are most likely to contribute to the U.S. economy and integrate successfully into American society. Under this new points-based system, certain employment-based green card categories will no longer operate on a first-come, first-served basis. Instead, applicants will be ranked according to their point scores, and those with the highest scores will be given priority. This is a massive shift from the current system, where your place in line is determined primarily by when your employer filed your petition and your country of birth. For highly skilled workers in fields like technology, engineering, healthcare, and science, this could be good news because it rewards merit and qualifications. However, for workers in lower skilled positions or those from countries with heavy backlogs, this change could make the path to a green card even more difficult to elaborate on. The points-based approach aims to create a more meritocratic selection process, ensuring that the United States attracts talent that can drive economic growth and innovation by evaluating applicants on objective criteria like educational attainment, professional experience, language skills, and other attributes. The system seeks to align immigration with national economic priorities. This means that individuals with advanced degrees, substantial work history in critical sectors, proficiency in English, and offers from U.S. employers in shortage occupations will accumulate higher points, potentially expediting their immigration process. Conversely, Those lacking in these areas might find themselves deprioritized, which could exacerbate existing inequalities in the system, particularly for applicants from developing nations or those in non-STEM fields. The transition to this model represents a fundamental rethinking of how America selects its immigrants, moving away from chronological cues toward a competitive ranking that emphasizes potential contributions. The second major component of the bill addresses the long-standing issue of green card backlogs, particularly for family-based immigration, as it stands right now. There are millions of people waiting for family preference visas, with some categories having wait times of 10, 15, or even 20 years, depending on the applicant's country of origin. The new bill increases the annual cap on family-based green cards and eliminates per-country limits for certain categories. This means that applicants from countries like India, China, Mexico, and the Philippines, who have faced the longest waits, will see significant improvements in processing times for families who have been separated for years or even decades. This change is nothing short of life-changing. By raising the overall number of available family-based green cards, the legislation aims to reduce the backlog that has plagued the system for so long, allowing more reunifications to occur in a timely manner. The removal of per-country caps addresses a key inequity where applicants from high-demand countries face disproportionately longer waits compared to those from less represented nations. This reform could dramatically shorten queues for many, enabling families to come together sooner and contribute more fully to American society. However, the bill also introduces new requirements and restrictions for family sponsorship. U.S. citizens and permanent residents who want to sponsor family members will now need to meet higher income thresholds to prove they can financially support their relatives without relying on public benefits. The income requirement has been increased to 150% of the federal poverty line for most sponsors, and even higher for larger families. Additionally, sponsors will be required to sign more comprehensive affidavits of support with stricter enforcement mechanisms. If a sponsored immigrant ends up using certain public benefits, the government can now pursue reimbursement from the sponsor more aggressively than before. These enhanced financial obligations are intended to ensure that sponsored immigrants do not become a burden on public resources, thereby protecting taxpayer interests while still facilitating family unity. The stricter affidavits mean that sponsors must be more committed and accountable, with potential legal and financial consequences for non-compliance. This balance seeks to maintain the humanitarian aspect of family immigration while incorporating fiscal responsibility. The third major area of reform involves temporary work visas, including the H1B program, which has been a hot-button issue for years. The new bill makes significant changes to how H1B visas are allocated and who is eligible. First, the annual cap on H1B visas is being increased from 85,000 to 120,000 to address the shortage of skilled workers in critical industries. This expansion recognizes the vital role that foreign talent plays in filling gaps in the U.S. labor market, particularly in sectors like technology and healthcare, where domestic supply often falls short. However, there are new restrictions designed to prevent abuse of the program. Employers will now face stricter requirements to prove they cannot find qualified U.S. workers before hiring foreign nationals. They will also be required to pay H-1B workers wages that are at least 10% above the prevailing wage for their occupation to discourage companies from using foreign workers as a cheaper alternative to American workers. These measures aim to protect American jobs by ensuring that H-1B visas are used only when necessary and that foreign workers are compensated fairly, reducing the incentive for wage suppression. Additionally, the bill creates a new pathway for H-1B workers to transition to permanent residency without having to wait in the traditional green card backlog. If an H-1B worker has been employed continuously for 5 years, has not violated any immigration laws, and meets certain educational and wage criteria, they can apply for a green card under a special fast-track category. This provision is expected to benefit hundreds of thousands of workers who are currently stuck in the green card queue for years or even decades by providing a clearer, more expedited route to permanent status. This fast-track option rewards long-term contributors who have demonstrated compliance and value to the U.S. economy, alleviating the uncertainty and limbo that many H-1B holders face. The fourth component addresses undocumented immigrants who are already living in the United States. This has been one of the most controversial aspects of the bill, and it has drawn both praise and criticism from different sides of the political spectrum. The bill creates a new pathway to legal status for certain undocumented immigrants who meet specific criteria to be eligible. An individual must have been continuously present in the United States for at least 10 years, must have no serious criminal record, must pass background checks, and must demonstrate ties to the community, such as employment, family relationships, or community involvement. Those who qualify can apply for a new temporary legal status that will protect them from deportation and allow them to work legally after maintaining this status for an additional 5 years and meeting additional requirements, including paying back taxes and demonstrating English proficiency. They can apply for lawful permanent residence. This pathway does not offer immediate citizenship, but it provides a legal framework for millions of people who have been living in the shadows for years or even decades. Critics argue that this amounts to amnesty and rewards illegal immigration, while supporters say it is a humane and practical solution that recognizes the reality of millions of people who are already integrated into American society by offering a structured path to legalization. The bill aims to bring these individuals out of the underground economy, allowing them to contribute taxes and participate fully, while imposing conditions to ensure only those with strong community ties and clean records benefit. This approach seeks to resolve a long-standing issue in a way that balances enforcement with compassion. The fifth major area of change involves border security and enforcement. The bill allocates significant funding for enhanced border security measures, including technology upgrades, additional personnel, and infrastructure improvements. It also mandates the implementation of a nationwide employment verification system that requires all employers to verify the work authorization of their employees through an electronic database. This system is intended to prevent unauthorized immigrants from obtaining employment and to hold employers accountable for hiring only those who are legally authorized to work. The bill also increases penalties for immigration violations, including overstaying visas, entering the country illegally, and immigration fraud. These penalties include longer bars to re-entry, higher fines, and in some cases, criminal charges. The enforcement provisions are designed to deter future illegal immigration and to ensure that those who violate immigration laws face serious consequences. For people who are currently in the immigration system legally, this means it is more important than ever to maintain lawful status and comply with all requirements, because the consequences of violations are now much more severe. These robust enforcement mechanisms underscore the bill's commitment to securing borders and upholding the rule of law, while the increased funding for technology and personnel aims to make border management more effective and humane. The employment verification system represents a key tool in reducing unauthorized work, closing a major pull factor for illegal migration. The heightened penalties serve as a deterrent, emphasizing accountability across the board. The sixth component addresses asylum seekers and refugees. The bill reforms the asylum process to make it more efficient and to reduce the massive backlog of asylum cases that currently clogs the immigration courts. New streamlined procedures will allow certain asylum cases to be processed more quickly, and additional immigration judges will be hired to handle the caseload. However, the bill also introduces stricter standards for what qualifies as a valid asylum claim, and it limits the ability of asylum seekers to work while their cases are pending. This has raised concerns among immigrant advocates who worry that legitimate refugees may be denied protection or forced to wait in difficult conditions for extended periods. The bill also establishes annual caps on refugee admissions and gives the executive branch more flexibility to adjust those numbers based on national security and humanitarian considerations. This means that the number of refugees admitted to the United States could vary significantly from year to year, Depending on the priorities of the administration in power, these reforms aim to create a more orderly and sustainable asylum system by accelerating processing and adding resources while tightening criteria to prevent abuse. The work limitations are intended to discourage frivolous claims, but may hardship genuine applicants. The flexible refugee caps allow for responsiveness to global events while maintaining control over admissions. So, who exactly is impacted by this historic legislation? The answer is millions of people across multiple categories. If you are a highly skilled worker in a STEM field or other high demand occupation, you may benefit from the new points based system and the increased H1B cap if you are waiting for a family based green card. Especially from a country with long backlogs, you will likely see your wait time reduced significantly. If you are an undocumented immigrant who has been in the United States for over 10 years, you now have a potential pathway to legal status that did not exist before. However, there are also people who will face new challenges. Lower skilled workers may find it harder to qualify under the new points based system. Family sponsors will need to meet higher income requirements, which could prevent some people from sponsoring their relatives. Employers will face stricter scrutiny and higher costs when hiring foreign workers, and anyone who violates immigration laws will face tougher penalties and longer bars to re-entry. The bill's effects are broad, touching on economic, family, humanitarian, and security aspects, with both opportunities and hurdles for different groups. What should you do if you are affected by this bill? First, and most importantly, stay informed. Immigration law is complex, and the implementation of this new legislation will involve regulations, guidance documents, and court challenges that will evolve over time. Follow reliable sources like U.S. Visa Portal for updates and analysis. Second, if you have a pending immigration case, or if you are planning to file an application, consult with a qualified immigration attorney. The new rules create both opportunities and pitfalls, and professional guidance can make the difference between success and failure. Third, if you are eligible for any of the new pathways created by this bill, act promptly. There will likely be a surge of applications in the early months after the bill takes effect, and processing times could increase significantly. Getting your application in early could give you an advantage. Fourth, make sure all your documentation is in order. Whether you are applying for a visa, a green card, or legal status under the new pathway, you will need to provide extensive documentation to prove your eligibility. Start gathering documents now so you are ready when the time comes. Fifth, be cautious about scams and fraud. Whenever there is major immigration reform, there are people who try to take advantage of vulnerable immigrants by offering fake legal services or making false promises. Only work with licensed attorneys or accredited representatives, and be skeptical of anyone who guarantees results or asks for large upfront payments. Sixth, stay compliant with all immigration requirements with tougher enforcement and harsher penalties for violations. It is more important than ever to maintain lawful status. Avoid overstays and comply with all conditions of your visa or immigration status. These practical steps are essential for navigating the changes, effectively emphasizing preparation, compliance, and informed decision-making. Looking ahead, this historic immigration bill represents a turning point for the United States. It attempts to balance multiple competing interests: border security, economic needs, family unity, humanitarian concerns, and the reality of millions of undocumented immigrants already living in the country. Whether it succeeds will depend on how it is implemented and enforced, and on whether future administrations and Congresses continue to support its provisions or seek to modify them for immigrants and prospective immigrants. This is a moment of both hope and uncertainty. The opportunities created by this bill are real and significant, but so are the challenges. Navigating this new landscape will require patience, persistence, and careful planning. The most important thing you can do is stay informed. Understand how the changes affect your specific situation, and take action when appropriate. Here at U.S. Visa Portal, we are committed to keeping you updated every step of the way. We will break down the regulations as they are published, analyze the impact of court decisions, and provide practical guidance on how to navigate the new system. Make sure you are subscribed to US Visa Portal and have notifications turned on so you never miss an important update. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful and share it with anyone who might be affected by this. Historic Immigration Bill. The more people who are informed, the better prepared our community will be. We also want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let us know how this bill affects you or your family. Are you hopeful about the changes or are you concerned? Do you have questions about how the new rules will work? Share your story and your thoughts because your voice matters, and together we can support each other through this historic transition. Thank you so much for watching US Visa Portal. Stay informed, stay hopeful, and remember that even in times of change, there are always pathways forward for those who are prepared and persistent. We will continue to bring you the information and guidance you need to navigate the U.S. immigration system successfully. Until next time, take care and keep working toward your American dream. To delve deeper into the implications of this bill, let us revisit the points-based system in more detail. This innovative approach not only prioritizes skills, but also considers age as a factor, favoring younger applicants who have more years to contribute to the workforce. English proficiency is weighted heavily to facilitate quicker integration into society, and the economy job offers in high-demand fields add substantial points reflecting the bill's focus on addressing labor shortages. This shift could invigorate industries struggling with talent gaps, but it also raises questions about equity for those whose skills do not align with the defined criteria. Moving on to the green card backlog reductions. The increase in annual caps is a direct response to the humanitarian toll of prolonged separations. By eliminating per-country limits, the bill promotes fairness, ensuring that no single nationality dominates the queue. This could lead to a more diverse immigrant population, but the higher income thresholds for sponsors introduce a socioeconomic barrier, potentially excluding lower-income families from reunification. The stricter affidavits underscore a policy of self-sufficiency, aiming to minimize reliance on public assistance for temporary work visas. The H1B cap increase is a boon for tech and other sectors, but the prevailing wage premium and recruitment requirements add layers of compliance for employers. The fast track to green cards for long-term H1B holders provides stability, encouraging retention of skilled talent. The pathway for undocumented immigrants is structured to reward longevity and integration with the 10-year presence requirement, ensuring deep roots in the U.S. The additional 5 years for permanent residency with taxes and language mandates promote accountability and assimilation. Border security enhancements through funding and technology aim to modernize enforcement, reducing vulnerabilities, while the employment verification system targets the economic incentives for illegal entry. Increased penalties signal a zero-tolerance stance for violations. Asylum reforms with streamlined processes and more judges address inefficiencies, but stricter standards and work limits may deter or burden valid claimants. Annual refugee caps with executive flexibility allow adaptation to global crises. Overall, this bill is a comprehensive attempt to modernize immigration, balancing various priorities while impacting diverse groups in profound ways. Staying engaged with US Visa Portal will help you navigate these transformations effectively.